Welcome back to the SHODcast Season 2. This is your host, Sean Klein. Alongside me, Matt McKenney, Mike Height, and special guest, Kevin Simson, Rafi Bombs himself. How's it going, Kevin?
Going pretty good. How about you guys?
Going great.
Looking forward to this conversation here.
Yeah, we're about to dive into the playoffs, but before we get into anything, I just want to have a second and have a word with our guest about how the season's been going. Is it anything that you expected so far?
I knew my team would be pretty strong. I wasn't happy with the slow start. I had a lot of guys put up duds early. Not what I was expecting. I was expecting a couple duds, but not at the same time. And my boom weeks have kind of coincided with each other, but same with the bust weeks, which is why, you see me in the middle of the pack.
And you're going to dive into a lot of those statistics that you kind of unpacked for us today. Let's dive into it. But first, we have the Pokemon. Any guesses as to who this could have been? Here were your hints. It was 2009 Denver Superflex. He had 216 points in the show, and he helped the Fat Jims beat McNair's shotgun offense 104-90. Let's start with you, Kevin.
God, 2009. Pass.
Matt.
I think we said Orton here. Mike and I both were thinking that it was Orton. There was no Superflex back then, so I'm assuming that means, that it's quarterback.
God.
So
It's Kyle Orton.
Yeah.
Look at that hair.
It's a wonderful flow. You can't deny it.
It's interesting.
Heading into this week's games. First game of the week. Matt, break it down.
Oh, my team is fine. Squeak went out against the Charbacues. The end of an era here for the Charbacues on their quest for going from zero to hero. Christian McCaffrey got injured in this game, only 3.5 points, but good efforts from Antonio Gibson and Javonte Williams got it done for him.
Kevin, chime in.
Pretty unfortunate that Charbacues got called into the Supreme Court of the show. He will be serving his sentence at some point this week, but I don't think it really made a difference. He didn't have anybody he could insert to make a difference.
Mike, break this one down.
Yeah, kind of a low-scoring affair here. I mean, Matt's favorite team, he lost to his favorite team here, Armin, who just somehow keeps finding wins. Mitchell had a great game in the 4 o'clock window. He was just running all over the Vikings defense, and that was really the big difference. And I don't know, Stafford just really did not look great in that game. He ended up with 25 points, but you can't feel confident watching the way that he looked in that game.
Simpson, what do you think?
Pretty unfortunate the way Rusty Truckers has kind of taken a nosedive, riddled with injuries, had a real hot start. I think that his 4th loss in a row, kind of taking him out of it. And even he had an inside track a couple weeks ago for most points to be in 7th, but, just not quite enough to stay in it.
Next game up, Matt, break it down.
We got the Rafi Bombs stomping all over Muppet Nation. This wasn't particularly close, almost to 50 points, really. Rafi Bombs, employing several different players who got it done here this week. Deebo Samuel, Aaron Rodgers, A.J. Dillon, the last 2 with the Packers, and kind of a big win over the Rams. So Rafi Bombs looking strong heading into the playoffs here.
Simpson.
Costly win for the Bombs, losing Dalvin, losing Deebo, and most disappointing, Terry McLaurin not putting up 15 points to get the Pilgrims a win.
Yep, you're going to be owing some people some shirts. Talk about it later. Mike, Flutie Flakes over the New World Order.
Yeah, the Flakes just absolutely destroyed New World Order, almost doubled them up in points. Josh Allen started off with a pretty good game. It could have been a lot better. He had some really bad turnovers on Thursday night, but the story of the week is Fournette with 4 touchdowns, right? I think, or the 5. I can't remember.
Yeah,
44 points though.
Yeah, 44 points. Yeah. In NWO, I mean, T. Higgins was the star of the team, and Waddle. Waddle also had a great game, but I mean, the two quarterbacks picked for the Pilgrims really just did not come through. About 18 points combined. Just really not what you're looking for. 17 points.
Simmer, you're playing the Flakes this week. You a little worried?
Pretty worried. Yeah, the Flutie Flakes are a buzzsaw, and I pretty much have to wait till Monday night for half of his team to play. So I'll be sweating that all day Monday. And then, as Height pointed out, New World Order also, the two quarterbacks for the Pilgrims didn't help.
Track coming up big over the Fat Gyms. Matt, what's going on here?
Upset of the week. I don't think anybody saw this coming aside from maybe Mr. Kilgore himself. But Cordero Patterson, questionable all week and then ends up playing, scoring 25 or 27.5 points. Obviously huge there. And then Carson Wentz had a big game, especially first half against Tampa Bay, and put up 22 points there. And then pretty much a balanced effort the rest of the way through, enough to get it done for Trek over the Fat Gyms.
Does this change your opinion of Trek, Simpson?
Well, I was going to point out he's got half of my roster on in this lineup for this week. We did some wheeling and dealing together. I think me and him are usually two of the more active owners, and I think this shows how much trading 2-for-1s can kind of pay off. As far as Fat Jim goes, losing Swift and that Tampa Bay game, having Fournette go off for 5 touchdowns kind of leaves scraps for Godwin. And but yeah, I think I was a little excited to make those deals with Trek, but I think I wearing some egg on my face now.
Jay Walsh football team over VBB. Mike, a low scoring affair here.
My prediction was off by just under 2 points. I said this is going to go on. Both teams are going to be on 100 points. VBB. I mean, it's unfortunate they got that 8th win because I don't know if they're going to get another one before the end of the regular season. I mean, they're going to be whatever team is the 2 seed sitting there picking first is going to be licking their chops, I think, for the Van Buren boys here. Jay Walsh squeaked one out here. Really no great performances here. Gaskin was the high scorer. I guess Russ got there with that last touchdown, but not much good going on here on either team.
And not a whole lot on their bench either to help out there, Simpson.
Jay Walsh, another team that was called down to the Supreme Court of the show. He will also be issuing a roster error pill. But Jay Walsh, his highest scoring, let me pull this up, his highest scoring output in 6 weeks. And he actually has a decent look at the 6th seed. So his points for might not even matter.
Wow. We'll break it down a little bit. I think this is the last game, though. Feel the Rush over Lafferty Daniel. You know what, Mike? Break this one down.
Oh, I don't know if I want to. I was feeling good. I was up 25 going into Monday Night Football, and all he had left was Gerald Everett and J.D. McKissick. Did not expect the first 3 touchdowns of the game to be scored by those individuals, but that's exactly what happened. And that's got to hurt for you. I mean, you put up a decent amount of points for this point in the season. Team did pretty well. I mean, as usual, it seems to be the case all season. I have 3 quarterbacks that none of them are really stars, and I generally leave the high scoring one on my bench, which I think would have done it. Yeah, 13-point difference. But yeah, I mean, hats off to Rob. Some of his best players were not playing this week. Didn't have Ridley, obviously. Kamara didn't play. He started Tony Jones Jr. on Thursday Night Football, and he scored 2 points. So he was able to overcome that. I mean, they're a good team. Once they get those 2 back, I expect those 2 back at some point in time, and they're going to be a scary team come playoff time.
Kevin, would you have started Ben Roethlisberger over Mac Jones in that game?
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in Mac Jones. I mean, maybe I'm just being kind of wishful thinking, but Big Ben, in those matchups, as even in his older age, I probably would have started Ben. But this matchup is the example that you could just put the definition out of fantasy is stupid. I mean, Lafferty going into Monday night. I mean, I in my little things that I do, I chucked him up for a win. And then, as Height said, 3 straight touchdowns in that game. And it wasn't even a high scoring game. It was in the teens, wasn't it?
Yeah, 17-15.
17-15, and the 3 scores are against Lafferty, and it's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Some people have all the luck. Let's take a look at the standings. Who's got the luck today? Simpson, you know what? Let's start with you. Break this down because you've got all the numbers.
Yeah, I've been, bantering this about, but I think that, yeah, and I think this got lost when we were talking pre-show with Mick, but I'm not saying that me scoring less points and losing the Muppets. I would have been hopeful that Muppet Nation would have scored more points and beat me. It's a little complicated, but Muppet Nation is the only team that I'm kind of behind in points. So if for some reason in the next 2 weeks I'm to drop down out of that 6 seed, Muppet Nations is my big competition for most points. That's where Trek and even Jay Walsh, who have, another win than Muppet Nation, their points won't matter with Muppet Nation if they can somehow claw out 2 extra wins. And as we can see in fantasy, anything can happen, especially in that last week 14, where it's just the top 7 teams getting a win. That week is going to be absolutely insane, especially how compact the standings are.
Matt, are there any teams that are completely eliminated,
Well, I think mathematically there are probably some teams that really technically nobody's eliminated because of the point total thing. But, realistically, you can pretty much cross off, I think everybody, down from my team is fine, essentially. I think really there's only, if you look at Muppet Nation, Jay Walsh, Revenge of Ed Kilgore, Rafi Bombs, those are the only available teams that can really, fill those last 2 playoff spots. And everybody else is essentially done.
Well, let's take a look at the playoff picture. Mike, what do you see here? What's the first thing that stands out to you, especially going into that 7 seed where it's going to be a tight race for most points?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, Trek was able to get the win this week, but I mean, I think Patterson kind of covered up some of the big holes on that team. So I'm sticking by the fact that I don't think Trek is going to end up in the playoffs by the end of this. I don't know. I'm concerned about the Nation. The Chargers have not looked good, and Williams and Herbert are kind of his stars. I don't know. I think I've been saying I don't know. I have faith in the Rafi Bombs, but he's got a tough matchup this week, and I don't know. I don't know where the playoff teams are going to come out of this group. I mean, it's just so tightly bunched. Well,
let's have the statistician chime in here.
Yeah,
what do you think's going to happen?
So I think, again, and this is going to sound so weird, but the Nation winning or losing last week against the Bombs, I don't think it makes a difference for him. Either Muppet Nation or the Bombs are probably getting in, because the Nation has almost a 50-point lead on what would be 8th place now. So either he's getting in at 6th, or he's going to get in that 7th. I mean, I know 50 points doesn't seem like a lot, but with 2 weeks, you have to make up 25 points a week. So I think Muppet Nation has that inside track to that 7th seed. Now, where it could get interesting is if the Muppet Nation can find their way into the 6th seed, then it would come down to probably Rafi Bombs or Trek. Where it really gets screwy is if Muppet Nation, Rafi Bombs fall out, lose one of the 2 games. Trek and or Walsh win their 2 games. Now it'll be a race between Muppet Nation and Rafi Bombs for the most points, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And that's not out of the so Rafi Bombs plays Flutie Flakes this week. Trek plays NWO. Jay Walsh plays the Charbacues. So if you were to play it out and Jay Walsh gets the win and Rafi Bombs and Trek lose, all Jay Walsh has to do to make the playoffs
His
is
win
score
the
in
last
top
week.
7, and he's in.
Win the last week, right?
He's got to win the last week. He's got to score in the top 7, and he's in. So that would and then it would come down to Muppet Nations, Rafi Bomb, and Trek for most points. Bombs with down 10 points, and Trek's obviously down 50. So like that can get squirrely. So I think depending on what Jay Walsh does this week against Charbacues, it's going to get tight for that 7th spot.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that, probably what ends up happening is, the Muppets probably will end up getting a win and it'll be up to that 7th spot, with a points race amongst the teams that are kind of below him. I do think the Muppets finish strong here. I got a good feeling about that. I can't remember.
That's where him losing to me this last week throws a wrench in it, because then I think you're correct. I think Muppet Nation has a good shot at winning 2 straight. But if he wins 2 straight, it's irrelevant if Jay Walsh also loses 2 or wins 2 straight. You know what I mean?
Well, you and I were talking last week before the match, and we were saying how this was supposed to be one of the higher scoring games. Now my team didn't pan out to do that. But if it were, it wouldn't be bad for me either way if I were to win or lose.
Right. Yeah. You were in a good spot.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
You were in a good spot because you had the lead going in.
Right.
And quite by a lot. Like I said, I outscored you by quite a bit, and I'm still down 10 points.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
So right now it's looking like Muppet Nation's basically a lock. Rafi Bombs outside or like on the inside track, but could swerve out. Trek and Jay Walsh on the outside track looking in. Am I correct with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely still alive.
But everybody else has been pretty much eliminated unless miracles happen, which they sometimes do.
Yeah, unless somebody puts up like a 200-point effort or something like that to take I think even then, it's probably out of reach for points. So
we got a little ox in the building.
Hi, Maddox.
Hi.
Maddox, you want to help out with the power rankings?
Ready for the power rankings?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Number 14. Who is it?
Charbacues.
Charbacues.
There's the
I'm surprised-
Charbacues back to the
Surprised to see the
bottom.
Charbs down here. I thought the Charbs, had kind of a funny run towards the end where they could maybe win out and make the playoffs. But obviously, they're down here at the bottom. Actually, I think I had myself down here at the bottom, so I'm happy to not be in 14th.
All right, number 13.
Almond.
It's Armin, Tansari, and Mike. Any opinions on their team?
Yeah, I mean, they just got to win, but we're not going based off wins here. We're going off of our feelings about the team, and it's where Armin belongs.
The Squeakers. Number 12.
The Truckers end up here again. I think generous to have us at 12. The team is basically just a shell of its original team. So lucky to be at 12, frankly.
Maddox, who's at 11?
Team is fine. No.
Simpson, go for
My
it.
team is fine.
Any opinions?
Rough goal for my team is fine. Another team that started off super hot. There's a couple teams that have started off super hot and it really faded late. My team is fine as one of them.
A former number 1 seed on the power rankings here. At number 10, Mike.
Yeah, Jay Walsh. Again, got the win. We just talked about them having a shot. But I don't know. I don't see them making the playoffs. I mean, they got a good shot at getting a win this week. But if you're putting up 100 points a week, you're probably not going to finish the top 7 week 14, which is what I love about that we're doing it this way, because we don't want somebody playing a trash team for the second time this year just getting another guaranteed win. So I like that we're doing it this way. You got to earn your way into the playoffs.
Matt, number 9.
The Laffertys, they had their final swan song here this last week and losing in dramatic fashion on Monday night, and they're going to miss the playoffs this year. But a pretty valiant effort. I'll put the claps out because he could have mailed it in pretty early this year and stormed at the end, almost made it exciting. But 9 is about as high as they'll climb, I think, this year.
By the way, I just wanted to note that Height had himself as the number 7 seed in the power rankings.
Well, it is power rankings. It's not
power
it's
rankings.
not
It's
standings.
not standings.
So.
I get it, but you had yourself as the 7. You had yourself as the 7, and that was above both Trek and the Nation.
What did I have him at? What did I have him at?
You had him at 9.
Okay.
You guys combined these?
Yeah, it's a composite.
Nice.
It's the mean score of the 3.
At number 8, Jennifer.
Trek made a couple of moves at the deadline that I think have really helped him, and I actually think he gives a good shot at getting in. And not gonna lie, if he gets in, he's one of the more dangerous teams that's sitting out there.
Maybe that's why he's tipping on the edge up there at number 7, Matthew.
This is for Mike. Go ahead, Mike. Muppet Nation.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point in time, my team is better than Muppet Nation. That's why I put them higher in the power rankings. But yeah, they're a good team. I mean, they have the potential to be very good. It's just the problem that, I mean, we saw what they could be at the beginning of the season, but they're not playing that well now. And
can't get all the wheels running.
These are power rankings, not current standings. So that's why they were ranked where they were.
At number 6, Matthew.
Yeah. So Van Buren boys, speaking of teams that are not in the right spot based on power rankings versus standings, I think Van Buren boys, I think I had them at like 8 or something like that, because I think really in reality, without their wins, I would maybe consider taking my team over his right now. I think they're really struggling. They're really they're in trouble. They're in big trouble. They're looking at a first round exit in the playoffs. You can almost mark it down right now unless something dramatic happens and changes. Van Buren boys in a free fall, historic free fall.
Number 5, Kevin.
Flutie Flakes matchup this week is scary, and I'm hoping to put up enough points that can help me take over Muppet Nation in most points for that 7 spot.
Number 4, Mike.
Yeah, the Bombs. Very strong team. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs. It may be a little rocky here at the end, but yeah, they're putting up points. I think they're going to continue to do so. I would think that Flutie Flakes, Rafi Bombs are going to be the Sunday night game, but we'll see.
Number 3, Matt.
New World Order. What's to say about New? I mean, they're always in it. Every year it seems. Last year I think it was a down year, but this is a team that I think it is has a good chance to win the show, probably better than even they have in the past. So I think this is one of the teams in the mix for sure.
It'll come down to his quarterbacks. How much does Brady have left at the end of the season? I know he's ageless, but and then what's Hurts? I mean, Hurts has always been coming through, but he showed this week that sometimes he won't get there. So I think he's going to go as far as his quarterbacks take him.
And Kevin, break down the top 2 teams in our power rankings here.
Yeah, Feel the Rush, miraculous comeback, and then Fat Jims, who I think he found a market inefficiency in the way he drafted his team, heavy on top running backs because they went cheaper because everyone only has to start one of them, and it's really paying off for him. And it's when I was running the the max and the mins for each team, and the fact that he hasn't dipped below, like I think it was 110 all year, that's incredible consistency. So he has the ceiling, he has the floor, he has it all. So
yeah, going off what Simpson said, it's interesting. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but the market inefficiency that Simpson was talking about, like he picked the right running backs because so many of the high price running backs are gone right now. So he just has such an advantage over everyone else that he has these running backs. He has that to build off of, and he found receivers that can get him 15 points a week on top of the 20 that his running backs are getting him.
Kevin, any final thoughts here? How was it?
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I think this is by far the closest the show has been towards the end here. Even as Fat Jim's is kind of pulling away, he doesn't have the 1 seed locked up quite just yet. I mean, he's a heavy favorite, but with Swift going down, he's dodged injuries all up until now. And Feel the Rush is in the rearview mirror as far as most points. So anything can really happen towards the end here, and it'll be interesting.
And one last question for you. Aside from yourself, if you could predict who's going to win the Shofi this year, who would you hedge your bets on?
I would be putting my money on Neil. There's just, again, ceiling, floor. He gets enough out of his quarterbacks. It's, he's someone you don't want to be facing in the playoffs.
No.
There you have it. You heard it from the statistician himself.
Enjoy,
Kevin.
boys.
The SHODcast injury report. First player up, Matthew. Tell us what's going on with Darren Waller.
Okay, so Darren Waller strained his IT band, iliotibial band, which is a long stretch of tissue that runs all the way from the hip to the knee. And obviously with him, it was a knee injury, so he injured this structure around the knee. It's a strain, so I don't expect that he's going to miss a lot of time from this injury. I think it's probably a week-to-week thing. It depends on how well he does in rehab and, whether or not he can play with a manageable amount of pain. I wouldn't expect him to be out too long with this injury.
And Dalvin Cook, what's going on with him?
So Dalvin, this is an interesting one because Dalvin Cook had a shoulder dislocation, and I think with that he probably sustained a labral tear. He has a labral tear in his other shoulder, I believe, too. He's a running back, so you really don't have to do as much reaching overhead as a running back. Obviously, when you're a pass catcher, you have to do that. So I think it might be interesting to watch Madison. You may see him being used more on passing downs because Dalvin may not be able to use his arms quite as well to reach over his head with that labral tear. But as a ball carrier, I don't see him missing a whole lot of time with this.
And Mike, how do you think this is going to impact teams that might have Madison or might have even Dalvin Cook? Is that really going to impact their time?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they're talking about Cook probably being out at least 2 weeks, if not more. So Becker, I believe, has Madison, which is huge. I mean, having Madison by himself, I think is better than having both of them, having Dalvin when both of them are healthy, because Madison's just going to get absolutely fed. And I don't know. I just think it's going to be huge for the Flutie Flakes going forward.
And then one other injury we don't have here, Matt. Talk about Christian McCaffrey and what happened to him.
Yeah, so all I know about McCaffrey is that he sustained an ankle injury, and he was put on IR. And it must have been a significant enough ankle injury for him to be deemed out for the season. But I think what's more important with this discussion is, you really have to consider McCaffrey to be a huge injury risk at this point. I mean, we're looking at 2 seasons in a row now where he's missed the majority of the year. He's an extremely gifted athlete, very good fantasy player when he's available and when he's healthy, but it's really becoming a problem now where he's not reliable to stay healthy, even for the majority of the season. So definitely something to look at, for next year. Is this a player that, you can, allocate a lot of auction dollars towards, or is this somebody who you're better off kind of staying away from? So, it'll be interesting to look at for next year for sure.
And Mike, what do you expect from Chuba Hubbard while McCaffrey's on the IR?
Not much. I mean, they have been giving Abdullah touches. I mean, he had 2/3 of the touches, I think, after McCaffrey went out last week. So I don't know. Chuba really has not impressed this year. Not that Amir Abdullah is anybody you want to start in fantasy, but Cam looked awful. PJ Walker came in relief of him. So it's just like,
the question is, are they going to score any touchdowns?
I don't know. Maybe.
And if I knew how little I knew.
On to the Don Paul bad call. People starting inactive players. Who was that?
I put that in for Matt because he didn't have one. But yeah, it's just, I mean, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here, and people starting inactive players just cannot be happening. Like,
Yeah, well, I think it's good that you bring this up because like I think we really have to be better as a league on cracking down on the players who let this happen because, why, if there's no deterrent there, then people are just going to continue to do this. So I don't know whether that's a pill that people have to do, a shot or whatever, or, if it's, something where they have to pay a fine or a fee or do some type of crazy thing at the draft. Either way, I think we got to crack down more on this.
I will say I think it should be situational though, because there was a situation that happened to me earlier this year where Waller went out on like Saturday or early Sunday or something like that. I believe it was early Sunday, and I didn't have a tight end on the roster, so I had to leave him there.
right. But Steve started someone. We knew Goff was going to start like all week, so there was really no excuse on that one.
Yeah, case by case basis, I think, if it's pretty obvious that you have a starting player who, wasn't it last year that Brian started Alex Smith after he mangled his leg, or 2 years ago?
That was a couple years ago.
Situations like that where it's obvious that the player is not going to be playing, and yet, or like a player's on a bye, like these are inexcusable. These need to be addressed.
No, and I in my opinion, I just don't think that like a shot is enough. Like in my other league, if you started an inactive player, you get like a $50 fine. Like I think maybe not $50, but enough where people are not going to keep making the mistake over and over.
Yeah, league
and then the fine
have it go towards the food fees for the draft or something. Absolutely,
they go towards most points, I think. But yeah, I agree.
Whatever.
Have it go towards something.
Mike, tell me about Russ Wilson.
I love Russ the player, but Russ the person, he's just a weird guy. I don't really know how to explain it exactly, but
isn't he married to like Sierra or something?
He's married to Sierra. I mean, he got divorced from his first wife like a year into the league. But I'm talking more about just his need to be not necessarily the center of attention, but just like he makes sure he's looking good, or he's looking like the star, even like when it's to his own team's detriment. Like he clearly came back too early. Like his finger is clearly not healthy. If you watched that game last night, he was missing guys high. He doesn't have the same zip on the ball. I mean, he had a couple nice throws to lock it, but it's still the balls still didn't have the same zip as normal. And when he was first got hurt, he was out there like taking snaps away from Gino during practice. He's taking like snaps pregame, even though he wasn't going to be playing in the game. I don't understand why he feels the need to do this. I mean, he's never missed time before this, so maybe he just doesn't know how to act when he's injured, and him not allowing himself to heal and get to where he needed to be before he came back is just sinking the Seahawks. And long term, it's probably for the best because Pete Carroll's a dinosaur. There's so much talent on this team, especially in the receiving game, that just never gets utilized because Pete Carroll wants to run the ball. But I don't know. It's just this season has been tough to watch, and Russ is he's really got on my nerves.
Matt, you saw his broken finger. How long does that stuff take to heal, and should he have maybe taken a few more weeks?
Well, we talked about this injury report. I don't know that he had a fracture. You can have a bony mallet finger and you can have just a regular mallet finger. The difference is whether or not you have an avulsion of the bone off of the middle phalanx, or if it's just the tendon that rips off or that breaks. So I don't know whether or not it's really a fracture. But either way, the healing process is the same. I mean, you still have to have your finger in extension for 4 to 6 weeks. It really, if you don't immobilize that area, the tendon / bone, whatever it is, doesn't heal back properly. He had surgery for this. So, you have to wait until things heal up properly in order to be able to, go back and play again. So, Mike's absolutely right. When you start to go back and, do things too early, you risk re-injury, you risk setbacks, and, you risk poor performance on the field because your finger can't do what it's supposed to do when you're throwing a football. So I agree. I agree with what he's saying. It's disappointing. I admire him for trying to get back out there, but you got to also be smart. If you're not healed up and you're going out there and you're playing poorly because you're not healthy, that doesn't help your team. So,
last talking point of the evening: Shod parlays. We got to get together, boys.
Oy.
We've really got to get. This is the bad call, actually, not the talking points. This is the bad call. Shod parlays. We're struggling here. What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, I think. Well, I shouldn't say this because I was gonna say never bet on Detroit Lions, but they're the only one that actually.
Yeah, that was the only one that won
actually
last
covered.
week. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I will make a statement that I'm officially done betting the Chargers.
Well, you're actually betting against them this week. We'll get
exactly correct. Yeah, I'm not betting on the Chargers. I should say, I'm happy to bet on in a game that they are involved in. The Broncos are terrible. I don't know. I didn't watch a ton of that game. I watched some, but Teddy got hurt at some point, and they still managed to lose a game that Drew Lock appeared in. So I don't know. I don't know. That's
now we know the Chargers are going to stomp this week. That's going to be for Muppet.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was worried about. When you entered that in, I'm like, I would not. I don't like that. That seems like another trap game.
It's a win-win, client. It's a win-win. If the Chargers do well, that means probably Muppet does well. And if the Chargers lose, at least we're good for the Shod parlays.
Good way of looking at it. But the other thing I wanted to bring up with Shod parlays is, and this is a general theme that I've had all year, I feel like the games are so unpredictable this year, more so than years previous.
They're always unpredictable. I mean, there's always a stinker. You put together your parlay of 3-4 teams you think are definitely going to win, and there's always a stinker in there. So it's just so hard to win parlays. It really, like, honestly, if you're betting, any reasonable sum of money, you really want to try to stay to one or two teams that you're betting at a time, because parlays, it's just too easy to go wrong. It really is.
I agree with Sean on this, though. I think this year has been crazier than usual. Like, there are no standout teams, and you can't look at the board and say that this is a guaranteed win at any point, even if the Lions are involved, because somehow they've kept it close. So, but I will say, like, we get one shot parlay victory, and we're right back to in the black. I mean, we're
right back to even.
Yeah, we're right around plus 210 with all these bets. So I think
that's the gambler's motto right there. Right. All it takes is one roll of the dice. We'll be back to even. All right, Zoe knows pick of the week. Zoe's 6-2. Another win last week. This week, picking New World Order, huh?
Yeah, I like New World Order here. Looking at the matchups, I think it's a strong spot for them. They're coming off a couple of tough games, and I think Trek is just overperforming a little bit. Mike mentioned earlier he's pretty banged up, and the fact that Cordell Patterson kind of strung them along for another win, I think that's going to run out eventually. And I see New World Order winning this week. I think it's a pretty strong lock here.
All right, and we're going to win the parlay this week. You're taking Dallas, giving 4 to New Orleans. You're 4-2, by the way.
Yeah, it's a short week. I know New Orleans is at home again, but as you saw last Thursday, I mean, they cannot move the ball at all. I think even if Kamara is able to go and is healthy, they still have serious problems with being able to run their offense with Simeon.
Taysom Hill will be starting next week.
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't matter. I don't think Taysom Hill, if anything, it would be slightly better than what Simeon has to offer. And Dallas needs to win. They had a big loss last week on Thanksgiving against Oakland. Las Vegas. They were favored to win and they lost. So I see Dallas, winning relatively easily on Thursday.
Yeah. Does a Thursday back-to-back Thursday games count as a short week?
No.
I wouldn't say so. I mean, that's a normal 7-day span. So I don't think that's a short week. I think they would just, basically go through their normal schedule routine for, a 7-day week.
I was asking because you said it was a short week.
The ride or die
no,
pick
it's
of
not
the
a short
week.
week.
Ryder is 5-3,
Yeah.
taking Field of Rush.
Yeah. I think you guys picked the first two that I kind of eyed as my ride or die, but I just think that Armin's squeak by 100-point wins are gonna come to an end here. Field of Rush is a good team. They have a ton of guys on bye, but I think.
And then you're taking Cincinnati. You're 2-4.
2-4. Yep. We're gonna get to 3-4 this week. Cincinnati's a great team. Mixon's gonna eat the Chargers' run defense alive, and I think they're gonna easily cover, giving up 3.
Snoop sleeper pick of the week. Snoop is 3-5. Picking the Fat Jims this week over VBB. Fat Jims is just on a roll. They're going to put up a lot of points in VBB. I don't know if they can break 100. So I think this was an easy pick. Snoop's going to move to 4-5 after this week. And he's also taking the Bills Mafia, giving 3 points to New England. I think it's going to be an absolute stomping. And 4-2 on my calls. So
I don't know how I feel about stomping. New England's defense is very good, and they have 2 very good running backs. So I think they could keep the game close, but I'm fine giving 3 points.
Yeah, I mean 3. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills win by 3. Actually, it might be one that we push. I do feel like the Bills are the pick here to win, but I don't know. I mean, I could see New England like not getting a 2-point conversion to tie, and the Bills only winning by 2 or something like that. Like, I think it's going to be a tight game.
Maybe I'm just high on hopium right now and want the Bills to just bludgeon them to death. So we'll see. This week's picks.
Wow,
Matt, you're catching up to Mike. 32-33. It's getting close. Do we have like a final bet? Do we have a bet at the beginning? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think we really established anything. It was just for fun at this point.
All right. Always next year. Lafferty against the Nation. Who are you picking?
Oh, hold on. You got to say that you got work to do.
I always have work to do.
Yeah. Muppet Nation gets the win this week. Lafferty doesn't have anything to play for. Not that he won't care and set a lineup, but I also think that Muppet Nation is a better team overall. So I'm going with the Nation this week.
Mike, you don't agree with that statement?
No, I mean, I honestly haven't been picking my team just because it's my team. Like, I have actually been looking at the lineups, and I mean, I was very close to it being correct last week. But I mean, I mentioned it. I think Mixon's going to feast again. I mean, he's been like the RB1 over the last 5 weeks. Overall, I think he's just been on an absolute tear, scoring like 2 touchdowns a game. Chargers run defense is terrible. I think Jefferson gets back on track, and I think the Lafferty's actually win this somewhat easily.
Waller's probably going to be down this week. The Nation's still got to find a tight end of some sort, so they're on the hunt for that. But you know what? The last time they missed Waller, they still came up with a win. I think it's going to happen here. Trek versus NWO. Matt.
Well, we talked about this a minute ago. I got New World Order. It's my my Zonos pick of the week, so I think they're going to win.
Mike.
Yep, I'm also picking NWO. I think this is where we see Trek's playoff hopes come to an end, because I don't think that they're going to be able to get a win in week 14 either.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to get Cordero Patterson scoring 30 points every week. So I'm going to take NWO on this one. Rafi Bombs, Flutie Flakes.
This was a tough one for me because I always still feel like there's that looming possibility that Flutie Flakes doesn't set their roster properly. But, when I look at these rosters and I look at the players that Flutie has to employ here and to use, every week, I have to pick the Flakes. I just have to hope that, he's going to actually set the right roster. He's the better team. He's got the better roster. The question is, does he put that roster actually in the slots to play this week? So I'll go with the Flutie Flakes. I'll bet on him.
Yeah, I'm also going Flakes. Going off what Matt says, I completely agree. Like, Madison is sitting on his bench. I can say this right now because he's not going to ever watch this, but like Rafi lost Dalvin and Becker has Madison sitting on his bench. Like, that's a huge swing right there. And if Becker puts Madison in, I think the Flakes are going to win for sure.
I'm betting he doesn't. I'm betting he doesn't. I'm going to go Rafi Bombs on this. Or even if he does, hopefully the Rafi Bombs can squeak one out. I think the Flutie Flakes are scary. And so I'm hoping Rafi Bombs can hand them a loss and maybe dish them a blow. I don't know if they can fall out of the playoffs, but that would be nice. Fat Jim's VBB.
So Fat Jim's had a loss last week. I think he gets right against a dreadful Van Buren boys team. I mean, this was a team that, we saw come out and be one of the best teams in the league. And now, they really have dropped off substantially. So I think Fat Jim's, I think this is a bludgeoning, actually. I could very easily be my Zonos pick of the week. So yeah, Jim's all the way here.
Mike, we all agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin said that Neil's lowest scoring week was like 112 points, which is 12 points more than Damn Your Boys could hope to get to. So I agree with Matt. I think this could be a bludgeoning.
Yeah, I don't know if they get to 100 points. Not going to happen. Charbacues, Jay Walsh Football Club.
Well, the Charbacues run ended this last week. They are now not going to make the playoffs, but I still do like their matchup this week against James Walsh. He has the opportunity to knock them out of the playoffs, essentially. And I think the Charbacues get it done.
All right, we're all on the same page here. All right, any opinions?
I think he's frozen.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't know why I picked Steve, but
well, if you want to change it, you can change it right now.
No. I guess I guess I expect the Barbells to. Oh, he's getting Mahomes back. He's gonna have Kelsey. He's gonna break 100 points, which again is over Jay Walsh's threshold. So yes.
Armin and Feel the Rush, Matt. You're going with an upset here.
As crazy as it is, I think Armin just wins again. Like I sometimes these rosters are just like I can't even, it's just I can't even just whatever. Armin's so annoying and like I just lost to him.
I just saw your brain break.
It's breaking. Yeah. I don't know, man. I can't figure this team out. I really can't. Whatever. Armin wins.
Height, you and I are on Feel the Rush here.
Yeah, I mean, this is my ride or die. I didn't feel great about it. I mean, again, you guys picked the two that I felt much better about. But he's got a bunch of guys on bye, but I think that his team will somehow get to like 120 points, and that's more than Armin. So
yeah, I feel the same way. Even if Armin puts up 110, I don't think it's gonna be enough. So I think Feel the Rush takes it. Last game. Rusty Truckers against the Dog.
Yeah, this has got to be the toilet bowl here. Actually, probably some big time playoff or big time last place pizza ordering implications here with this game. Depending on what happens with the Charbacues, again, I picked them to win this week, so I think this game actually maybe matters for that. But I'm going with the Truckers this week. I just think the loss of McCaffrey really, really damages my team is fine to a point where it's going to be really difficult to overcome that. I still do think that, even with the recent woes of the Rams, I still think that combination of Stafford and Cup is pretty good. So I'll go Truckers here.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Truckers for a lot of the same reasons Matt said. CMC is gone. DJ Moore could potentially be catching balls from PJ Walker after halftime. There's really just not much else on this team. Maybe New England defense puts up a strong game against the Bills. I don't really see much else coming from my team. It's fine.
You know what? I think Jared Goff puts up a good game against Minnesota this week. I just have a feeling about it. I don't think Detroit is an 0-9 team. I don't think they're that horrible. Or are they 0-10 now?
What's the spread in that game? Maybe you should have.
They're 0-10-1.
What's the spread, like 9? What is it?
Yeah, I think it's 9 or 10.
Maybe you should have bet them.
But you know, Jared Goff, if he can put up 20 points, I think my team is fine. Come up with the win. I'll say that. If he can put up 20 points,
that is a big if. That is a big if to get Goff to 20 points.
Talking points this week. First one, Super Bowl bet.
Yeah, I was looking at the lines today just for the heck of it. And what prompted me to make this my talking points today was I saw the Colts at like plus 4,500, and I was like, man, like the Colts might miss the playoffs. That's a very real possibility, but they can also beat anybody in the NFL. And you know, if you're going to put down $100 for the chance to win $4,500, maybe that's not a bad bet. So I was just looking to you guys to see what you guys thought about, different teams that may be good picks for, throwing some money down on to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to read out some lines here, the current odds to win the Super Bowl, and you guys can tell me what you think you might like to select. So Tampa Bay is the betting favorite right now. They're plus 550. We got Kansas City at plus 700. We got Arizona at plus 750, as is Green Bay. Buffalo comes in at plus 800. New England is plus 900. Baltimore plus 1,200, which I think is also a decent option. The Rams plus 1,200. Dallas plus 1,200. Then we start to see a pretty substantial dip down to Tennessee at plus 2,200. We got Cincinnati plus 3,300. Chargers 35. San Fran 35, Indy we talked about 45. I don't really think that anybody else would be good to bet on beyond that. I mean, there's the Browns at 6,000, but
I wouldn't touch the Browns.
No, God no.
What do you guys think?
I mean, of the numbers you just said, I think Cincinnati would be the one that I mean, given the number, given how I feel about the team, would probably be my bet.
You went from a Chargers fan to a Bengals fan this season.
I was never at any point a Chargers fan. They lost me $40,000 earlier this year, so I really not talk. I would not say that I'm a fan of that team. Yeah, I mean, they have a great run game. Obviously, Burrow's been playing incredible. They have 3 really good wide receivers, 2 very good wide receivers, 1 good possession receiver in Boyd. I mean, and they have their defense continues to improve, and I think that those are the types of teams that a really good balanced team that if the offense is humming in a given game can beat anybody. I can absolutely see them beating any team in the AFC. So yeah, that would be my pick out of the teams you just read off.
For a lot of the reasons that you just stated, I'd go with the Rams at, I think it was 1,200, right?
So I have the Rams at 1,200. Yeah.
I'd probably go with the Rams there because, again, I think that's a team where when they're humming, they can beat anyone, and they're probably the best team in the league when they're humming. They have the star power to do it.
I think the Rams are kind of a tale of 2 teams here, first half and second half. I think in the first half of the season, first 5-6 games of the year, they were that team. They were very dangerous. They were beating everybody. They were scary to play. Now I think we're seeing a team that's very beatable. and that has some holes. I don't know if it's all it seems like it just really switched when Robert Woods went down. Like it was just a big loss for them, and they can't move the ball the same way. They don't have the same potency on offense. And I hate to tie it to one player, but being invested in them in fantasy and having my season kind of go downhill right at that point in time, it makes me wonder, like, is this team really a contender? And I gotta say, I don't like them to advance, beyond maybe the first round of the playoffs this year.
I kind of agree with what Sean said with the Rams, because I do think they have so much talent. And I think that we're kind of in the figuring it out phase. I think what you said is also correct, Matt. I think Bob Woods was a huge loss. I mean, he's an incredible blocker. We know that McVay loves to keep a strong run game on top of having those shot plays, which we kind of saw with Beckham a little bit in that game. But I think they're just kind of figuring it out right now. I mean, like Beckham, it was only his second game with the team. I think we're still kind of in the learning phase. Like he had the bye week to kind of get used to or learn more of the playbook. I mean, he played quite a bit of that game. On the defensive side, like Miller is still, I mean, chasing down quarterbacks is not super complicated, but kind of getting down the defensive schemes of the team. I think once they kind of work through this little rough patch, I think they're going to be a very scared team too. So if I had to make an NFC pick, I would also pick the Rams.
So maybe a good time to lay some money on them, because you probably, if they're going to turn it up, you won't get a better number than you have right now. Like,
right. Yeah, for sure.
High priced running backs. We kind of hit on this earlier today.
Yeah, no, I just think it's kind of interesting. Just how beat up the high price running backs have been. I mean, just go down the list, like McCaffrey, Henry, Kamara, Jones. Who else have we lost this year?
Just about
Swift just got hurt.
Yeah, Gibson's been injured.
Gibson.
Almost everybody in those first two rounds. It's been a total minefield. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, Taylor for Neal is stayed healthy. But I mean, just think what would happen to the gyms if something were to happen to Taylor. Like, I would lose a lot of confidence in that team. I mean, he's just,
and that's what happened to a lot of teams this year.
Yeah. I mean, look at Trek once they lost Henry. Like, it's that speak of the tale of two seasons, like, or the two halves. Like, there's with Henry and without Henry, and it's two very different teams.
Yeah, the Titans and Trek.
Yeah. I mean, the Titans is just I think they set the record for the most guys moved from practice squad onto active roster this year through like 10 games or something like that. And,
incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I mean, the thing is, like, everyone has been shitting on Tannehill this year, but like he's throwing to Nick Westbrook Akine, and I don't even remember who some of the other guys are on that team, but like it would be a very different story if he was throwing to Julio and to AJ Brown. So I think once he gets those two back, I think that they're going to be a viable team and somebody you don't want to play.
So maybe they're a decent bet too. I mean, coming in at 2,200, if you think those guys can get healthy again. I would
be hesitant to put money on AJ Brown and Julio Jones's health.
Yeah, I don't know if they can stay healthy throughout the remainder of the season.
Right. Even if they do come back, I wouldn't count on them being able to stay healthy throughout a playoff run.
Last thing I want to talk about are the Natives shirts. Now, do you think these? No one's answering me in the group. Do you think these are going to be long sleeve shirts? Or are they short sleeve shirts? Do we get the names printed on the side? Because I think that would be cool, like Atlanta Thrashers style.
So I wasn't even really aware that this was confirmed. I think it was just kind of like something that.
It was confirmed.
Yeah, I thought Brandon said that it was happening.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
yeah, you said it's happening.
In that case, I'll tell you what I think it should be. I like the idea of doing, the jerseys. I like the, the idea of getting maybe the Natives logo with their name on the back, the number, like that'd be kind of fun. Like, it'd
But
be a
wouldn't it be
thing to
cool with
carry on.
rusty truckers down the sleeve?
No, no, I'm not in on that. I like long sleeve. I like the idea that like I wear that around Thanksgiving time. My Cooper Cup, jersey shirt with the. I mean, I'd be in on that, but no, I don't think I want rusty truckers down the sleeve like Atlanta Thrashers. No.
Mike, how do you feel about having to pay for a shirt for Matt and I to wear?
Yeah, really, really disappointed in Brandon. I'm not gonna lie. Just banking on both of his quarterbacks to have huge weeks. I mean, had he picked Josh Allen, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. You guys I'd be talking to you guys about my shirt. So I don't know. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I wish that we could come up, or I don't want Rob to have to do this on Thanksgiving, but if we could figure out a way to do live scoring, I just think that'd be a lot more fun rather than just sit around waiting for Rob to update the Excel file.
I wonder how we could do that. I wonder if there's a way that we could start like a one-team fantasy league. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be a one-team fantasy league or if there would be some type of website where you could just plug in players, that you could kind of just customize it so it would track the just those players for the 1 week, and then you could add up the total and see where we're at with the league settings. So yeah, it's something to look into for next year. I think that would be awesome. It would be really fun, for the day of Thanksgiving, but then also the Sunday afterwards to be fun to kind of watch that in live time rather than having to guess or do the calculations on your own. Nobody's got time for that except for Rob.
I am such a fan of the Thanksgiving Classic.
Yeah, it's fun.
Big fan of it. I hope it continues for many, many years. This or that. Darrell Henderson or James Conner? Matt, why don't you go first?
This is a tough one. I still don't really even know if I have a thought definitively.
Knee-jerk reaction.
Well, my knee-jerk reaction is James Conner. I think his floor is better. I worry about Henderson's health. I think he's a little bit less hardy than Connor is, and I also like Connor's touchdown upside a little better than Henderson. I think Rams do tend to be kind of a pass-first team, and I think the Cardinals are the same thing, but they've shown that they're willing to feed the ball to Connor on the goal line, and we've not seen as much of the Kyler Murray running the ball in, every single time they get down into the, inside the 10-yard line, the 5-yard line. So I think knee jerk is Connor. I think, he just offers a little bit safer floor here. So he's the guy I would pick.
Height.
Yeah, I agree with Matt on the floor. I think at this point in time, the way the offenses look, I think Arizona is a better offense. But Henderson, he's got much more of a receiving upside. And I think that his ceiling is higher than Connor's. Connor's had that 4 touchdown game or whatever earlier this year, but they spread Henderson out wide. They like to run wheel routes with him. He's a much better receiver than James Conner. And if the Rams get things together and where they were early in the season, I don't even think it's close. And at some point in time, Chase Edmonds is going to come back and take away Connor's receiving. So, if we're talking ceiling, possible long-term, I think Henderson's the better play.
You know what? I kind of agree with you on this. I think it's very close. By the way, James Conner has 168 fantasy points to Darrell Henderson's 157. So they're about 10 apart. And I think the difference here is that huge 40-point game that Conner had when he scored 4 touchdowns or something like that. Henderson, I think, has been a lot more consistent over the year. And you can have more faith in him moving forward, knowing that he's going to touch the ball too, to echo your point on Edmonds. So I would probably go with Henderson as well. Last part of the show. We have a new Pokemon. Here are your hints. 2015 Jacksonville running back, rostered 96% of the leagues, and he helped Commissioner Gordon to a high score of the week in 2015.
Like Chris Ivory or something, maybe.
What's his name? Who's the guy that played quarterback at Michigan?
Yeah. Robinson.
Yeah, Denard Robinson.
Denard Robinson.
That's my guess.
So we got a Denard Robinson and a Chris Ivory. We'll find out next week on the week 13 preview. Is it week 13 or 14 preview? No, it's 13 preview next week.
Yeah, we're coming up on week 13 now.
Yep.
Yeah, this is week 13.
No, this is the week. So week 14 preview. Sorry.
Yeah, next week.
We've been through so many weeks, I get them all mixed up. Final thoughts.
Go ahead,
yeah.
Mike.
I'm glad that we had Simmer on earlier. That was a lot of fun to listen to. We have so many teams just right there, and it's gonna be fun. Like I said, I think week 14 is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be, you're playing against 13 other teams essentially, and just seeing, who it's going to be like watching, like almost like the stock market. Like people are going to be in and out and in and out. It's just going to be, all day. Are we going to have Saturday games next week or no? Is it not yet? I don't think so. So, all day Sunday and then into Monday night, it's going to be a nail biter with, who's going to be just above that point threshold to get you in the top 7. So looking forward to it. I think Monday night is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm going to the game. Forecast isn't looking too nice at this point in time, but I'm looking forward to it. And I think, like I said earlier, I think the Patriots are going to keep it close, but I think the Bills come out with a W.
Dress warm.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to say is we got to look ahead also at not only do we have a race towards the playoffs and towards the top seed, but we've got a race at the bottom here too. There's a few teams that could potentially be last place and ordering pizza. So another thing to keep an eye on. But we got some fun things coming up for the SHODcast, especially come playoff time with selections. So stay tuned. We'll have much more interesting and fun content coming your way.
Don't forget to subscribe so you get alerts whenever the next episode drops next week. Take it easy.